Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here, as you guys can see up on the screen today, and probably for most of this week, myself and a lot of other people are gonna have a lot to say about TSM. So, I mean, for the haters, this is probably a great time, and for even the TSM fans, it's maybe a great time to let out some of your frustrations and vent and all that stuff, because so far, we have just finished up 1 week of the LCS, but again, LCS Spring Split is only 6 weeks this week, so there's only 5 weeks left, because every week is pretty much a super week, so the Spring Split is going to go by really, really fast since the lock-in tournament was at the beginning, but even in the lock-in tournament, TSM has been largely pretty disappointing. In the first week, they did go 1-2. They were barely able to eke out a gift of a win against CLG, and if not for that gift and miracle of a win, TSM could potentially be 0-3 and the only winless team in the LCS. But again, they did pull out the win. They are 1-2, but things are not looking great. In this video today, we're going to be talking about maybe some of the regrets that TSM had from this offseason, and I'm thinking about one player in particular that a lot of people are talking about right now, who is maybe having some better success out there right now. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you guys have not already, smash that like button really quick. I would appreciate it so much. It really helps me out the YouTube algorithm, getting my videos out to more and more people, helping us grow, and just helping us, you know, do better overall. And it's the best way to help support my channel pretty quickly and easily if you guys would love to do that. Also, subscribe to update on my latest content. Make sure you do that. Click that button as well. With that being said, let's get right into this. So when we take a look at what's going on in TSM right now, the LCS standings, as you guys can see, as I was just talking about, TSM right now sits tied for 5th. But honestly, all things considered, they are in a pretty bad spot and have looked pretty terrible through the first 3 games of the season so far. They had a pretty easy schedule. Yes, they did have to play Cloud9, who is sitting in 1st place right now, but they got to play against Immortals, who has 1 win on the season, and it is only against TSM, and they also got to play against CLG, who is the only 0-3 team in the league right now. In the game against Immortals, TSM got an early lead with an early game comp into a better scaling comp, and then they kind of got smashed from 20 minutes on. Against Cloud9, they pretty much got smashed from the beginning of the game on, and against CLG, they got smashed for the first like 25 minutes before CLG just was like, you know what, we don't want to win, here you go. So again, in all 3 of TSM's games, some tiny bright spots here and there, but overall, not a lot of things going right. Weird drafts, weird plays. The team does not look on the same page at all as far as a team overall, but even on an individual level, a lot of mistakes going on everywhere. Sword Art has not looked great. Lost, it maybe looks like he's making some improvement stuff, but he has largely not looked like the player who's dominating the academy. Sword Art, just going back to him, does not look like the guy who's worth the millions and millions and millions that they're paying him. Huni, it's looking like more of the same from him, the same Huni we've seen from the last couple of seasons. Power of Evil, he's just super inconsistent right now, and the meta doesn't really fit him at all. And Spica, who has maybe been the best performing member on TSM, has not really had too many insane standout performances, but also it can be kind of hard to jungle when all your lanes are just getting smashed overall, kind of game in and game out. So not a lot looking right for TSM right now, but the guy I wanted to talk about in today's video is this man right here, BrokenBlade, because if you guys remember back to the offseason, he posted, you know, his double middle fingers picture on Instagram. He was upset that TSM was getting rid of him. He wanted to stay. He wanted to be a part of TSM. He wanted to be in North America. They had just come off winning a championship. He thought this is where his future was going to be, and they kind of gave up on him. They moved on from him. Yes, it was because Bjergsen was retiring. It was because TSM now had to go with a import mid laner. They didn't have to, but they decided to go with an import mid laner. They decided to go with import support. That left no room for BrokenBlade. They thought Power of Evil and Sword Art were going to be 2 huge, massive pickups for them that would replace Bjergsen and Doublelift, hopefully, but obviously that has not happened. And then we take a look at the other side, where BrokenBlade, you know, TSM is 1-2, looking like, honestly, one of the worst teams in the LCS right now. BrokenBlade is over in the LEC on a 4-2 Schalke team who, yes, they maybe had a little bit of a slow start, but now they are honestly, after wins against Rogue and G2, looking like one of the best teams in the LEC. And when you take a look at the stats and everything that's going on, BrokenBlade looks like one of the best top laners in the LEC. And again, we would all say that obviously the LEC is a better league than the LCS overall, even though maybe top lane is not. Top lane is one of the weaker positions over in Europe, so maybe that is an opportunity for BrokenBlade to kind of shine. But again, him kind of leaving TSM and going off to find more success is just really kind of funny in the end. The team that gave up on him is now kind of in shambles, Yes, it is early on in the season. It's only 1 week. But again, we got to see them in lock-in tournament for like 7 or 8 games or whatever. And it looks largely the same. Maybe some minor improvements. And there's only 5 weeks left. What is going to change insanely in 5 weeks? It could happen. But they look so far behind even the middle of the pack teams in the LCS right now that I don't think there's any hopes of them catching like a TL or a Cloud9 or even like 100 Thieves at this point. But we'll see how all that goes. But, I'm sure a lot of TSM fans are really, really happy for BrokenBlade right now. But I am seeing more and more comments about how foolish it was this offseason for TSM to let BrokenBlade go. Now, in the end, to be able to keep BrokenBlade, obviously they would have had to move their roster around a little bit. At this point, it's looking like the pickup of Sword Art was just a huge kind of misplay by TSM. Not only the fact that Sword Art hasn't been that good, TSM's bot lane hasn't been that good, whether you want to blame it on Sword Art or loss or whatever, the fact that they went out and spent that many $1 million when TSM historically is not a team that's usually willing to spend any millions of dollars, let alone multiple millions of dollars on one player, in a year where TSM just doesn't look that good is kind of a huge miscalculation on their part. If you are going to be spending those millions, whether or not that players necessarily ends up being worth that money, which it's really difficult to even be worth that amount of money, you want your team to at least be competing for titles and stuff, and that's why, we just need this one more piece to kind of put us over the top. But when you look at this TSM roster, who has a huge question mark in the AD carry position, a huge question mark in the top lane, this didn't really make sense to be the offseason to go and spend multiple $1 million on one of these players in the same offseason where you're going to be losing Bjergsen, losing Doublelift. And you had a guy, Treats, in Academy, who is also doing pretty well over in EU right now, who would have been a fraction of the cost of Sword Art. Obviously, at the time it looked like Sword Art was probably going to be better than Treats. Now that's very debatable, but either way, as far as bang for your buck, Treats is now looking like, maybe what would have made sense. If we take a look at the stats right now that's going on over in the LEC, BB is putting up some absolutely crazy stats. As far as KDA right now, he's sitting at 4th over in Europe. CS per minute, he's actually 2nd, which is interesting because he did have a lot of issues CSing over in North America, keeping up with CS as the game went on. Obviously, I'm sure that's something he's really, really been focusing on. And, the meme is that EU teams are better at playing side lanes, better at playing the map, better at collecting waves, all that stuff. So hopefully he's getting some of that figured out. As far as gold per minute, he's sitting at 2nd right now. Damage percentage, he's actually number 1 in the league. And again, Schalke's 4-2, so BB is playing a huge part in their damage and helping put them over the top, which is awesome to see. As far as damage per minute, he's 3rd right now, and his laning stats are pretty crazy. He has the number 1 gold differential at 15 right now through 7 games in the LEC. He is 4th in terms of CSD at 15, and number 1 in terms of XP differential at 15, and he has 2 solo kills as well. So he is off to a very, very hot start to the season over in the LEC, and this is awesome to see as a TSM fan, as a BrokenBlade fan, that he is finding success onward. And honestly, it's got to feel pretty great for him as well, that he felt, really, really salty and upset and really hurt by what TSM did to him, because I'm sure he thought that he was kind of, for a long time people said that he was going to be the player that TSM built around for the future, that once they eventually moved on from Bjergsen, or Bjergsen moved on from them, obviously, that BB was going to be kind of the star of the TSM franchise, and maybe he started to believe that as well, but then to just get kicked to the curb like that had to suck, and maybe that's even motivated him, maybe that's even played into the kind of stuff that's going on, because on the flip side, you see his replacement stats. This is just from the lock-in tournament, because they really don't have great updated stats for the LCS season so far, and it's only been 3 games for TSM. But you see Hooney, who in terms of just a lot of the stats, CS per minute, he was 2nd to last. Gold per minute, he's 3rd to last. Damage percentage, he usually does decent damage. He is 4th there in terms of top lane. But when we take a look at the laning stats, it is not painting a good picture for him in terms of 3rd to last in gold difference at 15, dead last in CSD at 15, and 3rd to last as far as XP differential at 15. So again, you kind of see the tale of 2 stories right now with BrokenBlade and with Hooney going on, and their teams show the same thing, that as one top laner is succeeding and finding a lot of success right now, his team is as well. Hooney and TSM are really going the opposite way. When we take a look at their game so far and how they've gone. Again, we started out with the game against FlyQuest, where Huni did go 2-4-6 on Gangplank, which is historically kind of a power pick for him, even though that champion's maybe not the best right now. He was going up against Licorice, who honestly has not looked that great really against many of the other top laners in the league, against many of the other teams in the league, but Licorice had a very, very, very good game, and even though TSM got out to an early gold lead, they did obviously come behind and lose in that one. And then against Cloud9, this game was just a stomp. Huni got the Camille this game, but he went 4-6-2. This was up against Fudge, who, yes, got the counter pick of the Jax, but in the lock-in tournament, we saw Huni getting to play the Jax into the Camille of Fudge, and while Huni did look good in some of those games, TSM wasn't able to make anything of that, wasn't able to equal that into any wins either, and they got absolutely smashed. You can see they're down 18k gold by the end of that one. And then finally, this crazy game against CLG, where TSM was down so much early. You know, this one wasn't necessarily Huni's fault. He's on the Lulu. He's actually able to buff up a ton of their guys. I thought this was a nice pick with this comp of Olaf and Zaya and stuff like that. But TSM just as a team was really discoordinated, especially against CLG, who's looked awful with their sub jungler, with the sub mid laner, with Finn just coming in on like a couple, maybe a week at most of like practice and scrims and stuff with the team, to look as bad as they did against a team who's looked as bad against other teams in the league as they did. Just a lot going on, and really just looking back at how many different ways that TSM offseason could have gone, that this was the team they ended up with, that these are the places they ended up spending money. There's just so much going wrong with TSM right now. The individual play, the overall team play, the coaching staff and management, the drafts, like so much is going wrong and so little is going right, and it must feel really good for the players that were able to get out of TSM. Even Doublelift right now, who's making a ton of money streaming, he's got to kind of be, you know, feeling good about how it all worked out. Treats, BB, all these guys who really in the end ended up in better positions. We can talk more about the different ways TSM's offseason could have gone maybe in another video, but I just want to get this video out to you guys today to just kind of talk about did TSM make a big mistake by letting BrokenBlade go, and getting your guys' thoughts and opinions on that, because I know that's something that a lot of people are saying right now, and they're going to continue to say over the course of the season, especially if TSM keeps looking like this and Schalke keeps performing the way they are. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think TSM should have held on to BrokenBlade? Do you think they should have got rid of BrokenBlade but went after another top laner? Or do you think Huni's going to turn things around this season? I'd love your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.